Hey all, Scott here from Art of the Genre. It's Monday and we're going to talk about Star Frontiers campaigning. One of the things that I've seen when I've looked at Star Frontiers or I've played Star Frontiers is the fact that there is a payment system involved in Star Frontiers, which is to say everyone has a daily rate. When you look in AD&D or something like that, in the old, AD&D DM's guide, you could find various rates of pay for different positions, scribes or blacksmiths or stuff like that. You can find that in one of the appendices within that book. And that kind of transcended over into Star Frontiers in allowing people to have a paid rate per day of what they, for whatever they're doing or whatever their class is or their skills are. That's all well and good, but it's one of the things that I think a lot of people balk at. Simon Adams, who did the picture that you will see in the banner that starts this, and he's doing so much of the artwork for Star Frontiers, Zebulon's Guide Volume 2. He started playing Star Frontiers with me in 2020, and I wanted him to be able to see the system and understand the system before he started doing art for it, because I think it made it, so he would have a better understanding of what Star Frontiers is, and therefore he could render art for it better. I think it's worked great, and it's still a learning process. But one of the first things I did with him was I had him. His character came out of Gullywug in the White Light system, and went all the way across the frontier to Capella, where I set almost all my campaigns. And there he got into Starplay Industries. He became a security guard for them and got a pay rate. And that pay rate, as well as the transport from White Light system all the way to Capella, pretty much bottomed him out in what he could pay for. And he went into the Braxton station, which is where I put everything, and had to find a place to stay, and had to get food, and had to get these things. He was trying to set up rent and all these things, and figured out that he didn't really have enough money to live. He had to get a couple roommates and a flat. Those are great opportunities if you're storytelling to get him involved and invested in meeting other people or getting favors and things like that. But one of the first things he said to me was, as we were playing this campaign, he said, "I do this in real life. I don't want to do this when I play a game." And it's a great way to think about it. And I was doing it specifically for the reason of getting him to know Braxton Station, the different sections of it, and the people there. But he's absolutely right. We face, as gamers or just individuals, wherever we are in the world, we face bills every month. And we've got to try to come up with those payments. And we don't want to play in a game where we don't get paid enough, or you have a monthly rate or a salary or whatever that looks like, because we're already fighting those problems now. And science fiction or gaming in general is an escape, and you want it to be maintained as an escape. So that is one of the drawbacks that I see to Star Frontiers in general, is that most of the adventures that you'll get that TSR produced, or you're looking at, a lot of times you'll find a rate, or you'll get hired by a megacorp, or somebody wants something done, and you get that rate, or you get 1,000 credits or something like that. And that's really what you're looking at to walk away from this with. And one of the open-end gaming things that I've talked about in earlier videos with Dungeons and Dragons is you're not hired by anybody to go into a dungeon typically. You're murder hobos, you're going in and you're looking for treasure. That's where you get your money. If somebody does pay you some stipend to go look at something, they're going to give you whatever you find in the dungeon, and that's really where you're making your money. In Star Frontiers, you don't find stuff. I mean, I guess it's possible if you raided a pirate's lair or something like that, you might be able to get some goods or weapons, and you're I've been in those campaigns before in D&D where you're collecting short swords because they're worth so many, gold pieces, and you're that poor. But that's not really what you want to do here. So you're not going to collect a bunch of K-1500 laser pistols and try to sell them when you get back to whatever base you came from. And that's another thing that's within Star Frontiers, and somebody brought it up in a comment, is that why in the HE double hockey sticks is almost everything done in Star Frontiers as you are hired out to go someplace, and you're put on a ship and you're dropped off somewhere. This Star Frontiers really should be about the frontier and the ability to explore it and have your own stinking starship. So, that's one of those things. It's funny too, because if you look in something like Nighthawks, I think it's in Nighthawks, it's either in that or the expanded Alpha Dawn, where it gets into stuff like loans. Dude, I don't want to know what the percentage rate I'm going to have to pay for so many years on a starship are going to be, or if I even qualify for that loan because my, whatever rate is not high enough. I don't have a good enough credit score. I got to deal with that if I'm going to go out and buy a car. I don't need to know that, nor do I need to know what debt my character is going to be in for X amount. And I think they devote 4 pages to loans and like putting chips in your head to know where you are for collateral. I mean, it's crazy stuff like that I think is just minutia in the system that needs to be cut out. You need to give your characters the opportunity to have a ship, whatever that may be. You could do a Firefly ship where somehow they got it and you go with it and it's trash, but it is theirs. You do the same thing with something like, back here is Battletech. Like when you did Battletech, one of the hardest things you have was getting a mech, but you had one and you had to maintain it and it sucked, but it was yours. And that's one of the things that you have to look at here, an ownership of something and the ability to, you have to pay those bills, but don't make this about accounting. I know it's one of the things that happened in Battletech. If you ran your own mercenary company, you had huge lists of payments and contracts. You want contracts that you've got to sign off. 3 different people have to sign off for it. For your company to go to some planet and defend it, and how much you're going to get paid, and how much the back end is going to be on repairs or anything else that's going to be involved in this. You don't want to get into that kind of stuff. And I know the same thing happens in Star Frontiers, where you're rebuilding engines and jumps and stuff like that, and maintenance, and you've got to pay those costs. You can't get into those with payments, and you can't make your characters, have only a viability of how much they're getting paid on a contract. That is per day. Sure, you could do contracts if somebody's hiring them to do something, but you got to understand on the back end, they really don't have a lot of ability in Star Frontiers to find treasure that then can make up that difference of the threat level that's involved in it. Because if you go to a lot of these planets, you fight some people, maybe you find some decent equipment, but most of that stuff you're probably keeping yourself. And if you sell it secondhand, it's not going to be worth a vast amount, or you're just going to be have bags and packs and stuff worth of crap that you're trying to drag back to your ship, or somebody else's ship in that case. So money is a very, very important factor. And one of the things when I was talking about it in one of my initial videos was the ambiguity of credits, and how you can't just go out and find credits because they're electronic. And somebody brought up a fantastic point that would be great to use within your Star Frontiers campaign. And that is the ability to say, look, technology and AI has gotten so advanced that hackers can target specific banking clans or anything like that, or companies or accounts, and wipe you out. And a lot of people in that day and age don't want to trust their money to an only electronic service. Therefore, tagged, registered, and scannable monies, credits, bills are something that are still viable, and therefore you could go into a pirate's hideout and find a safe and crack it, and it could have a ton of bills in it. That's cool. People like that, or tradable gems, or certain metals or something like that, and it gives you more of a treasure option, and therefore you have the ability to make more money off of it. But that's one of the things I wanted to talk about today. Just the viability in science fiction to maintain monies, but have the ability for people to get wealthy without having them do things that they already do in real life. Because science fiction, we live in science fiction to a certain extent in some of the things that we do today. We have spaceships, we have these certain things, and they may be pie in the sky kind of stuff, but they're out there. So when you look at that, you want to make sure that you don't just take real life and kind of put it specifically over in the standpoint of what is fun for people, because they're really here looking to escape and have fun. So you can't tie everything to wages and scales and stuff like that, unless you're building a campaign specifically on it through a megacorp, which I've done before, where people are trying to work their way up through the megacorp, and therefore monies do play into that factor and their salary. one of the guys that I had initially come into Braxton Station was working for Cassadine, and his whole goal was to move up the Cassadine system from first floor, second floor, third floor, and he was able to do it. And when he first came in, you know, he was a kid out of college, the character he was playing, and then he was like, I can't afford to live in this apartment. I've only got it for 2 months and I'm out. I have to find a way to viably do that. And what I did, I gave him that option was, you can go on remote missions, which pay you more, and they pay you 7 days a week because you're out doing it instead of 5 days a week. And therefore he was like, oh, I got to do that because I got to get that extra money. There is your adventure seed. And he went out into acquisitions department and had to go out and look at different ruins or different things that the company was looking to acquire, assess them, and then bring that back to the company. During that assessment, obviously they would get into all kinds of trouble because there'd be stuff at these abandoned space stations or anything like that. So you have that availability, but that campaign was set up specifically for that character. And that was his driving force. So he didn't mind looking for that money. And by the time he was done it, you know, he had a huge estate, you know, on the ocean, a wife and all this stuff, and, you know, and cars and whatever. And that's what he was looking to do. He wanted to be that, you know, 1% jackass who, you know, was high up in the corporate system, was a yes man. And that's what he did. But that was what the campaign was set up for. That's not going to be everybody's bag. And the sub characters around that were people that he hired out from the company, and they liked that money. They didn't work for the company; they were subcontractors. But that allowed the other players to come in and kind of assist him on those missions. So anyway, it was kind of fun. But that's one way you could do it. But you've got to understand that you've got to have a reason to do that with money. Otherwise, you're just kind of wasting the opportunities that are involved in Star Frontiers monetarily, or getting that money. You can't make everything correlate over, because again, we have our own set of problems here. You don't want people to do that. They're going to lose interest very quickly. This is adventure. This is something that we're gaming to get away from. So that's my subject matter on money and salaries and stuff like that in Star Frontiers or in science fiction gaming in general. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. If you have any other cool things in dealing with money, or how money motivates characters, as in Treasure, or how you've worked the system of how people get paid on a daily basis. You know, just put those in the comments below. I'd love to hear them. Otherwise, this is the Monday session on Star Frontiers. I'm glad you came by. And as always, great gaming.